We're recording.
All right.
Dan, how's it going?
It's going well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Why don't you start off by telling everyone who you are?
So I'm Dan Murphy. I'm a personal trainer and coach like Nick. Nick and I met quite a while ago, but we'll get into that. So we had similar interests, bodybuilding. So I'm still a bodybuilder, probably always will be, whether I'm competing or not. He knows how it is. So I do coaching, mostly online, a little bit of work with clients in the gym too. But I'm also a dad of a 5-year-old, and I do some film work too.
Well, let's go back a second here. So you and I actually do go back quite a long way. Probably I'd say about over 15 years.
Yep, that's accurate.
And you were actually one of my very first training partners.
That's right. Yeah.
You and I trained back together, I think between 2007 till 2011.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So 4 years, and we competed in a few shows together as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you first start lifting weights though?
I started when I was 15, almost 16.
Okay.
Started in the same place as you, I believe, at the good old West End Community Center.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And we were probably one of the very few guys that were actually lifting in high school. There weren't many guys doing weights back then.
Not many, no.
No.
Yeah.
I actually remember even cutting class a few times just to go train because the gym was right beside the school, right?
Yeah.
So
actually,
it was perfect.
I would go do abs at lunchtime because, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, you started at 15, but you and I remember we actually did our first show together.
Yeah.
And, oh God, I don't even remember how old we were. We were definitely in our early 20s. So.
Yeah, I was 23 then, I think.
Yeah. And I remember we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We kind of just followed like a few things. But back then, I mean, there wasn't as much social media, right? So we kind of just put it together. We actually did pretty well.
Yeah, especially you.
Well, we both did. We both placed top 3 in our class, right?
Yeah.
First show out.
Yeah.
So that was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, then we did another show a few months later, right?
Yeah. So we started with the Sandra Wickham in 2010.
Yeah.
And then we did the BC's 2011 because we were both qualified, obviously.
Right.
And then I went on to do the Sandra Wickham.
And you went overall in that show, I remember.
Yeah, the following year, the Sandra Wickham, I won the overall there. Yeah.
Yeah, you look great in that show. I mean, you've actually competed quite a bit now in the last decade. I think you and I have both done quite a few shows, but
yeah,
you noticed much difference from when you and I first started competing compared to how they do it now, as far as social media is in the gym? Because when you and I first started, we weren't using camera phones or any of this stuff. It was just
no, not at all.
No, we never even brought our phones on the floor.
No.
So, in your opinion, what's changed?
A whole lot, man. So, like, we didn't even really have much in the way of social media back then. Facebook was out. There was no Instagram yet at that time. Smartphones were still evolving then too. I was on a BlackBerry at the time that I think we did our first show.
Right. I don't remember you and I ever, I mean, we never stopped to take photos. When we
Not a single gym selfie was ever taken.
No. And we had the ability to because there were cameras on our phones, but we just didn't do it. It just never
wasn't a thing.
No.
It wasn't a thing.
Do you find that to be more of a distraction now than anything?
I think it is.
I mean, so we're both in the fitness industry, and I mean, I follow you on Instagram and you follow me, and I know we both have to film what we're doing in the gym. That's how we generate business for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
People know what we do. But at the same time, I personally find it a bit of an annoyance. And when I'm filming, I don't know about you, but it's just like one quick shot and that's it. And I'm training for the rest of the workout.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to set up the perfect angle or, find the perfect music or any of that stuff. And I see you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
What do you think's changed? Why do you think people are doing that now more so than ever?
Well, I think it's because we have a bigger influence with social media now. We have way more platforms, right? Beyond Facebook now, we have Instagram, we have WhatsApp, we have Snapchat, TikTok, and the list goes on. But I think a lot more people are into fitness now. like you touched on earlier, not too many guys in school were really even serious about lifting weights.
No.
You know, and now everybody's, it seems, almost is goes to the gym at least. You know,
right.
Whether depending, you know, various goals, but almost everybody goes to the gym now, and that's why everybody's freaking out about not having a gym now. Whereas, you know, say probably even 20 years ago, it really wouldn't have mattered to most people if the gyms were open or closed.
Right. Yeah. And you know what's interesting is I'm finding, I don't know about you, but I'm finding more and more now, people are like, it seems to be really more interested in the anabolic steroid use.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started training, nobody ever talked about steroids. And
No.
now I'm getting clients emailing me who have only been lifting weights for like maybe 6 months, asking me about steroid cycles.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that as an online trainer yourself now? A lot of these kids.
Totally. I get people who don't even know me just
right.
randomly DMing me asking, "What's your cycle?" You
really?
know?
Okay, so let's step back here for a second. So what do you think's changed with that? Because I know when you and I were coming up, I mean, steroids were a very taboo subject. Nobody would talk about them in the gym. It was maybe your local drug dealer had a few sources, but that was about it. Now it seems everyone talks about it super openly. And everybody wants to know what the secret is to getting big, ripped fast, right?
Yeah.
So why do you think there's so emphasis put on the drugs now?
I think you have a lot of people in it now who wouldn't have been in it before. They're not necessarily serious bodybuilders. I think they're looking for a shortcut. So they think they can get there faster by taking drugs. And I think a lot of people are surprised when they ask me how long I've been training, and I tell them 15, 16 years. And they're a little bit disappointed to find out that that's how long it takes, you know?
Yeah, right. It's the want it now mentality, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you and I also, we both work with people who, I train enhanced athletes, as do you.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of clients, the first thing they ask me about when it comes to steroid cycles, and they say, when I give them their supplement cycle, they say, that's it. I go, well, yes. And they're expecting like this massive amount of stuff. I say, look, it's diet and training first. Supplements come second.
Yes.
Do you think that it's becoming a problem as far as like the steroid use in the sport? And not even the sport of bodybuilding. Let's just talk about just recreational use.
Yeah, I think so. I think most people would be surprised to know how many guys and even girls in the gym are on stuff.
Right.
You know, it's even guys that you wouldn't even think are taking stuff that are, you know.
Right. Now let's go to bodybuilding, because you've won a few local shows. You've actually placed really well at some provincial shows as well, and you competed at the nationals a few times.
That's right. Yes.
Now, in the span of the last 10 years, as someone who's competed at very high levels, you notice that the guys are just getting bigger and bigger?
Guys are, for the most part, bigger now. I think, you know, it's part of it is, you know, there are more people in it. Another part of it is, people are taking more drugs. I guess, you know, there's more knowledge in general, so everything's kind of growing in a sense.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say you have definitely bigger competitors even at the lower levels now.
So besides bodybuilders, what kind of clients do you work with?
I work with everybody. I have, you know, I've worked with people who are in their 70s.
Yeah.
I've worked with teenagers, men, women, lifestyle clients, coaching clients, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you say most of your clients are online now, or do you train them out of the gym?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of them I work with remotely, you know, and as you're familiar, you know, we do the email correspondence mostly. So.
Sure. And where do they just all come to you through referral, or how does that work?
A lot of them are through referral. I get some contacting me through Instagram as well.
Okay. Now with COVID-19 going on, you're like me. You and I, we lift, you know, 6-7 days a week if we can. What have you been doing now? When did your gym close?
My gym closed, I believe it was last Thursday.
Okay.
So not yesterday, but the Thursday the prior week.
So it's
And I think
Friday, today's
my last workout in the gym was Tuesday or Wednesday of that week.
okay. So as
Yeah.
someone who lifts weights every day, I mean, what are you doing now? Like as far as training is concerned?
I'm still training.
You are? Okay.
I have a lot of resistance bands.
Yeah.
And I just luckily yesterday got my hands. Actually, a client of mine lent me some 30 and 45-pound dumbbells. So
Great.
I'll survive now.
So you can do curls at least anyway.
I could do curls. I could do lateral raises.
Right. So in your opinion then, with this whole COVID-19, do you think it's a good decision to close down the gyms, or do you think that maybe we should keep the gyms open?
Yeah, it's from a health perspective, it was the smart choice, just to flatten the curve and not take chances. Because, you have so many people coming to some of these gyms. It's almost impossible, even with lots of efforts taken to sanitize all the equipment and weights. It's too many people to manage, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm getting a lot of emails from clients, and I was telling this to one of my associates today, that people are saying, well, what should I do now? The gyms are closed. What do I do? And so you're saying, you've got some resistance bands, you got a few dumbbells. I think I even saw you on Instagram lunging in a parking lot the other day.
I was, yes, I did. And let me tell you, I did hundreds of squats and lunges.
Yeah.
And my quads are sore.
Really?
Yeah. No, I just to gym for that leg workout, and it was effective.
So you're still training, and what about the diet? Have you gone off the diet, or?
No, I'm keeping up my diet, man.
Yeah.
I recommend the same to everybody. I mean, some foods might be harder to get right now, but just make substitutions where appropriate and do your best to stay on track. There's no reason to get fat and out of shape just because we're locked down right now.
Well, and that's another thing I want to talk with you, because you actually, as a bodybuilder, you actually went vegetarian for quite a long time, right?
Yeah, I actually went full vegan for 2 years.
Right. Okay. Now, did you notice much of a difference as far as your results when you became a vegan versus meat eater?
No, I did very well with maintaining my mass for the most part. But keep in mind, because I already have a good understanding of nutrition, and I know which foods I would need to eat to make sure I was getting enough protein and certain micronutrients while being vegan. Like, for example, I ate a lot of split red lentils and used vegan protein powder. So I was almost not really getting any less protein than I was when I wasn't vegan. So,
I work with a few vegetarians, and the one thing I find difficult is when I'm giving them the protein sources, besides the ones that we know, like, whey isolate and egg whites, the protein sources usually contain traces of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Whereas the meat sources like, chicken, turkey, cod, there's obviously no carbs in that. So would you account for that when you were putting in your protein sources? Would you lower your carbohydrate sources?
Yeah, and I'd recommend, it's probably going to be really hard to do keto on a vegetarian or vegan diet. But I mean, if you can, you can account for those carbohydrates that you're taking in by lowering your direct carbohydrates. Like, say, for example, I believe 1 cup cooked of lentils is 18 grams of protein, and it's about equal that amount in net carbs. Okay. So say if you were going to have, a cup of rice normally with that meal, and if you're now having a cup of lentils, you might want to just cut that rice in half to make up for that.
Where do you stand? You brought up the keto diet. Where do you stand on that diet?
Well, you and I did that keto diet as our first pre-contest diet.
That's right.
And yes, it is effective for getting lean, no doubt about that. For someone with a faster metabolism like myself, I found that it was not as effective for me in terms of maintaining muscle mass and fullness.
Okay.
I feel like I lost a lot in that. I mean, it was a first prep too, so there's a lot of trial and error there. But
sure.
Like, just as an example, both of us were middleweights at that show.
Right.
So 176 was the cap for that.
Yeah.
Well, that same show, I came into 1 year later at 198 pounds.
Right.
And the condition wasn't any less. So, and then that diet, I was eating carbohydrates.
You were eating carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And I remember when you won that overall show, you looked phenomenal. Like hands down, you won that show. I remember seeing you at my home gym. I think we were 2 days out from that show. And I looked at you and I said, Dan, you won the show. Right away, I said, you won the show. I said, nobody should even show up anymore.
I actually felt very confident after that pre-judging. I definitely felt like the whole
100%. Yeah.
In that show.
For that particular show and the shows that you have been doing, have you had to rely on a lot of cardio to lose the fat?
You know what? The most cardio I ever did was the first time around when we did our first show. Right. We might have overdone the cardio.
Definitely. I think we were doing up to 2 hours a day at one point.
Yeah. I've never done that much cardio again. Like my last prep, for example.
Yeah.
I placed third in the super heavyweights at the Vancouver Pro-Am.
Right.
I never did more than 30 minutes of cardio 5 days a week.
So let me ask you then, as someone who works with a wide range of clientele, why do you think so many people put so much emphasis on doing cardio to lose body fat when you're living proof that you don't actually need to do that much cardio to get lean?
I think people just look at calories. You know, they see on the treadmill or the stepper how many calories they've burned. Okay. And yes, you do burn a fair amount of calories while you're doing that, but that's pretty much where it ends, right? Now, when you do weight training, you may not burn as many calories in that session, but the amount of calories you continue to burn after that session is substantial. So I think it's a mistake to put most of your emphasis on cardio. Even from a fat loss perspective, you'd be better to put it into your weight training.
I agree 100%. That's funny because it's one thing I always tell my clients to say, the more muscle you have, the more calories your body's going to burn in a rested state. So I kind of shake my head when I see these, I call them cardio queens and kings in the gym doing hours of cardio. And it's like your body and your metabolism is relying on that cardio now to continue to burn those calories. So in a way, I think it's almost counterproductive because I think it's going to cause metabolic damage down the road. You know what I mean by that? It's like almost going on a really caloric restricted plan for months on end, and then you come off that diet and then you balloon up again. So when you design a diet plan for your clients, is it just based on the individual like that you work with as a trial and error process to figure out their metabolism, and then, or do you take into consideration their gender? Like, how do you put a program together for somebody?
So I usually like to find out what they've been doing before me and if it's been working. And then when I set up that diet, I try to get as close as I can to what they were doing because they're more likely to stick to it that way. I'm not going to give them a whole bunch of foods that they don't like. Right. I'm going to try to make it as close as possible to something that they can sustain.
Sure.
Now, I'll try to go with more calories if possible to start, so we have more room to work with. Because if I go low calories from the start, and once they kind of plateau, where do you go from there?
Right. It's like shooting all your bullets in the air. Going to a gunfight, shooting all your bullets in the air right away, right? You've got no more ammo.
Exactly. Even with the cardio too, start low and work up. And then same thing goes for the drugs. If you're doing a level 1 show and you're taking everything under the sun, where do you go from there? How are you gonna say you somehow manage to make it as a pro, but you're already maxed out on everything. You have no grow.
Frozen. You just froze on me there. I can hear you. Oh, you froze.
You froze.
There you go. You there? Oh, I can hear you. You there? You hear me?
Yeah,
I think we just kind of broke up there. Okay, so continue what you're saying. You fry out your receptors, right?
Yeah, so you don't want to use every tool in the box right at the start.
Right. No, that makes sense. No, that's good advice. So if you were to start working with somebody who's, let's say someone's brand new to the gym, they haven't lifted any weights, and they come up to you and say, "Hey, Dan, I want to be a professional bodybuilder." What's the first thing you say to them?
Take it easy. One
Yeah,
step at a time.
one step at a time. Do you find you're getting the majority of your clients, they want to compete, or are they just more interested in lifestyle?
Most of them are lifestyle,
Okay.
um, but a lot of them do have, say, future aspirations of competing.
Okay.
And sometimes, people find it a good way to motivate them, even if, competing is not really their thing. It's a good motivator for someone to get in shape.
Yeah.
It puts a date on something, gives them
Right.
a more feasible target.
Yeah. Now let's go on to another topic with COVID-19. I'm asking actually everyone I talk to about this. First, how has it affected you personally, like your personal day-to-day life, and then as far as your work life is concerned, how has it made an impact on your life?
Well, we got the social distancing happening, so I'm not having as much contact with people, at least physically.
Okay.
And then, yeah, my work has definitely been affected, as I'm sure you can relate to.
Sure.
No gyms open, so
Yeah.
not really anywhere to train anybody, obviously. And you have a lot of clients who are maybe rethinking even continuing with coaching because they don't have a place to train, and they don't know how long this is going to go on for.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them kind of lose motivation. And then even new clients, I've had some people contact me saying they'd like to work with me, but let's do it once the gym's open. And I kind of hate to tell them that it might not be for a long time.
Right. And you and I were actually talking about this yesterday. How do you feel like the Canadian government is handling the situation right now?
I think now they're doing a pretty good job. I feel like they acted a bit too slowly at the start.
Okay.
In my opinion, we should have locked down the borders right away,
Okay.
locked down the whole country, grounded flights. Yeah, I'm sorry, to Canadians who may have been out of the country traveling, but, the cost in that sense is minuscule compared to the cost of shutting down almost the entire economy for who knows how long.
Sure. And
I
that's
mean, we see in an example like Taiwan, where they were pros at locking it down.
right.
They're basically over COVID already.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing you and I were talking about yesterday is how long do you think this is going to go? I mean, do you think it's going to be 2 weeks, we're good to go back outside, or do you think this is going to be a few months?
I think we're looking at a few months or more. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think it could be, I mean, the reason they're just giving that 2 week timeline right now is they don't want people to panic?
Yeah, I think so. I think if they told everybody it's going to be 6 months off the bat, people would panic. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm noticing, I don't know about, because, okay, so you're out is it Coquitlam?
Yeah, I'm in Port Coquitlam.
Okay, so, I mean, compared to where I am downtown, I mean, you used to live downtown Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever I walk, the streets are empty. Like you're walking up and down Robson Street, it's empty. The stores are all closed. What's it like over in Coquitlam?
Yeah, it's more empty than usual here too. Although I am surprised about which places are still open. I see a lot of car dealerships open, and I don't know who's in the market to buy cars at this time, but
I guess they're an essential service.
So apparently.
So how are you doing for toilet paper?
I got plenty of toilet paper, man. Like we said, we get enough fiber, and we don't have to use a whole lot of toilet paper.
It's funny. I put up a post on my Facebook account the other day about teaching people how to wipe their ass. Because I think guys just use way too much toilet paper.
Way too much.
Yeah, and if you have a pretty good
2-3 squares max, that's good enough for me, man.
You're speaking for men, because women usually need a little bit more.
Yeah, they tend to, yeah. But they could get away with less though too. I think people are pretty wasteful when it comes to toilet paper, and now that it's become a precious commodity, maybe people will learn to economize on it a bit.
So I want to talk about Jackson for a second, your son.
Yeah.
He's 5 now.
Yes.
So has he shown? I mean, he knows that you compete. He's seen the photos. Yeah. He sees his dad as this big Arnold Schwarzenegger. Does he ever look up and say, "Hey, you know what? I want to do that when I'm older"? Or is he still too young?
No, not at all. He doesn't care at all. He's more into Pokemon and Beyblades right now.
Oh, perfect. If he were to come to you though at say 16 and say, "Yeah, I want to do a show," or maybe 18, and he asked you about what your opinion was on that, what would you say?
Oh yeah, I'd help them out, absolutely.
Yeah. So you think it's a good goal for people to move forward with bodybuilding and maybe just relax on the actual drug use?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a healthy thing, you know, at its basic level for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it gets a nasty stigma because there's guys that ruin it for everybody, right? And it's the guys that tend to abuse it. And then I personally, my personal opinion on anabolic steroid use, to go back to the steroid topic, I'm not for or against it. I mean, you're an adult, you can choose
Yeah.
what you want to do with your life, what you decide to put in your body, what you don't. But I always tell people, educate yourself, because I'm surprised by how many people are putting stuff into their body that they have no idea what they're doing. And I'm like, this is your body. And yeah, you might feel good now in your 20s, but what's going to happen when you're in your 50s? Right?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how it's gone from diet and training, and now people are saying, well, what about my drugs?
Yeah.
And I just see that more and more. And I wanted to know if you felt that too. And you say you are seeing that more and more with the younger generation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, that should be like basically we have diet, training, and drugs, and people are making the drugs the most important of the three when it's the least important.
Right.
And everybody's going trend crazy these days. So yeah, the amounts of trend that are being taken these days are just insane.
Well, okay, so there's going to be some people that don't know exactly what tren is or what. So explain to them what tren is.
Yeah, so tren is a type of injectable anabolic steroid that's more androgenic and anabolic than testosterone, and it really promotes strength increases and a harder look to the physique. It's a powerful drug for sure, and people just have taken the attitude that if a little bit is good, then more must be great. So
see, and this is why I think it's so important that people hire coaches like yourself, because they can guide them and keep them safe, as opposed to going on a message board and reading what Joe Blow takes.
yeah.
And I think that's really important, is that you work with someone like Dan, who understands the whole science, not just behind the drugs, but also behind the nutrition and the training that go into it. If someone wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do
that? So either email me at danmurphyfitness@gmail.com, or DM me on Instagram at prepcoachdan.
Great.
All small, no symbols, nothing in there.
And you do specialize in contest prep services. So for someone who's looking to compete in a show, especially if it's their first show, you'd be the perfect person to guide them through that.
Well, I'd like to think so, yes.
Well, I mean, with over 10 years of competing, I think you would be.
I'd say I'm qualified at this point, yes.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree 100%.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Good talking with you again.
You know what? And that's why I've been doing this, because I feel like, there's nothing else to do. So
yeah, man, this is a perfect time.
Yeah, what's funny is every time I ask someone, I said, "Are you available?" They're like, "Yeah." Like, great.
My availability is the best it'll ever be right now.
Right. So I mean, it's a great time just to talk to people, and you text and you DM people, but it's good to go back to talking. I mean, that's the way you and I used to do it back in the day, right? Before any of this. So I mean, hopefully, this is one thing that comes out of COVID, is people become a little bit more that personal touch, right? And people start talking again, and actually seeing each other more than just like texting and tweeting and hashtagging.
Once social distancing is over, of course.
Right, exactly. That's a good tip. Good reminder. All right, Dan, I really appreciate you coming on, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Remember, wash your hands.
Definitely, that's a good tip. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, Dan. Bye.